Hello and welcome to an unboxing and initial setup of the Google Nexus 5X. It is the most recent addition to the Google Nexus family. It's an update to the Nexus 5 and it was released alongside a larger, more expensive Nexus 6P. I opted to go with the 5X because I like smaller phones. This is the 32GB variant of the Nexus 5X. It's also available in 16GB. And the color options are carbon, quartz, or ice. This is the carbon color. When we finally get the box open, we see a card, and on the back side of this card are basic instructions about plugging in your phone, powering it on, as well as opening up the SIM card tray. We're going to set that to the side and get down to the hardware. Note that in addition to being somewhat bulky, the wall plug accepts only USB Type-C. It doesn't accept the commonplace USB plug that you're used to seeing. Next, we've got the USB cable. Note that both ends of this are the same. It's USB Type-C to USB Type-C. That means that you're not going to be able to plug it into your computer unless you have a USB Type-C port. But on the plus side, the USB Type-C plug is reversible. Unlike its predecessor, it doesn't care which direction you plug it in, it will work just fine. You might have to go out and buy a few more cables, but it's worth the trade. And finally, we got the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes, the Nexus 5X handset. Underneath the phone is a card inviting you to try Google Play Music for 90 days for free, a SIM card eject pin, as well as some warranty information. Now let's get back to the main event, the Nexus 5X handset. My first impressions upon sliding it out are how light it is for its size, also that it feels somewhat similar in thickness to the original Nexus 5. On the back side of the phone is a black matte plastic finish. We see the 12.3 megapixel camera alongside its flash and the laser autofocus. Just below the camera is one of the major improvements on the Nexus 5X, which is the fingerprint reader. Back on the front of the phone, we have the speakerphone speaker along the bottom and the earphone speaker along the top. Directly to the left of the earphone speaker is a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Along the bottom edge of the phone, we can see the USB Type-C port, a microphone, and a headphone jack. Now I'm going to press the top button along the right-hand side of the phone, hold it for a few seconds until the Google logo appears. It takes a minute for the phone to boot up, so I skipped over that in the video. And here we have the welcome screen, where you are asked to select your language. And then it prompts you to insert a SIM card. The SIM card tray is along the left side of the phone. If you look, there's a little hole to insert the SIM card ejector tool that we saw earlier in the video. I'm not ready to switch over the SIM card from my old phone quite yet, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that step. And then it prompts you to select a Wi-Fi connection, so I'm going to go ahead and add my home network. After putting in your password, it'll take a second to establish a connection. Then the phone will give you another prompt. It asks if you would like to copy over the settings from an existing Android device. This includes all the apps you have installed on the other Android device. Since I'm changing over from an existing Nexus handset, this is a perfect option for me. If you don't wish to copy a setup from an existing Android device, you can skip this and go right to the next step. Next up is setting up security for your phone. Here you have the option of using your fingerprint, a PIN, pattern, or password, or opting to not use any security measure to lock your phone. Since we have a nifty fingerprint reader built right into the back of the phone, I'm going to select that option. But before we start scanning fingers, it requires us to select a pattern, PIN, or password as a backup unlock method. As an added measure of security, you have the option of requiring the secondary method of unlocking when the phone powers on. Now that we've set our secondary unlock method, it's on to the next step. Here it asks us if we want our notifications to be visible when the phone is locked. I like having all my notifications visible all the time, so I'll select that option. Now it's finally time to scan our fingers. The fingerprint reader on the back of the phone, referred to as Google Imprint, requires that you touch each recorded finger multiple times onto the scanner to get a good reading. It required me to tap the sensor about 6 times to complete the reading. The phone is able to store and read many fingers, so I suggest recording the index finger and middle finger on each of your hands. Next, we are asked if we'd like to opt into Google Now. If you are unfamiliar, I suggest you skip. However, I enjoy its convenience, so I'm opting in. Next, the phone begins downloading all the apps and settings identical to the other Android device specified earlier in the setup. When the restore screen is finally finished, it'll bring us to our phone's home screen. Immediately, there are a few things evident. The first is that it copied over the background from my other Android device. Second, as expected, it copied over the apps. These apps are organized in the same orientation as well as the same pages. A third thing that's very noticeable immediately is the number of icons on the screen. There are now 5 columns and 5 rows, which means this fits 9 more icons than the original Nexus 5. You may notice that some of the app icons are gray with a circle around them. This simply indicates that they are in the queue to be downloaded and not yet available to use. Now for a little Easter egg fun. If you go to the settings and scroll down to About Phone, towards the bottom of the screen you'll see information about the Android version you have. This will be Android 6.0 Marshmallow. If you quickly tap 3 or 4 times where it says Android version, it'll bring up the Android Marshmallow logo. Then tap 3 or 4 quick times followed by a press and hold. It will bring up what looks like Android's version of Flappy Birds. It's not the most elaborate game, but it's a fun way to spend a couple minutes. And I like the fact that Google hid a game in their operating system. And that concludes my unboxing and initial setup of the Google Nexus 5X. Thanks for watching.